I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey guys, welcome. This is the fourth episode, the fourth and final episode of season 1 for Unorthodox. I am your host, Kay Montgomery, lover of all drama and especially religious epics, really interested in the topics. I'm joined by my co-host, Ashmin, in the building today.
Hi guys. Hi Kay.
Hey, I should say in your building. You're in your building, I'm in my building. Because of COVID-19, we are separated, but that does not stop us from bringing great content to you today. Ashmin, for a special segment, is going to cover some trivia for us so we can learn a lot more about the community. We learn why our girl Esty left in the first place in this episode. We've been looking forward to it. Let's just get right into it. So we know that Esty and Yanky are having some trouble, but I don't think we realized it had gotten as bad as it gets in episode 4. What are some of your overall thoughts, Ashmin, about this final episode?
You know, the mother's been dictating the entire time. She has caused so many problems, not just for Yanky, the marriage. Like, you know, when you have a third party dictating what your relationship should be, you're gonna, you're gonna end up having problems because the drama is coming from an outside source. And we clearly see why Esty was ready to leave. You know, first of all, he had his mom involved in absolutely everything. The mom had issues with Esty from day one. And now she told her son to go and get a divorce with her because she wasn't able to get pregnant. Like, how wrong is that? And he didn't even want to. I think that's what makes it worse. He liked her. He was feeling her, but he was like, oh, okay, my mom says this, since you can, so I guess. And he said, I'm still young enough to remarry. Oh my God.
That wasn't even like, listen, it's not working out between us, but like, I'm already thinking about remarrying. My mom is already planning it.
Yes.
That's where you see Esty lose it. Like, she goes off. Has she already called a matchmaker? I mean, she goes off, and deservedly so. I was glad to see her snap. I was like, yes, that because that is ridiculous. Your mother-in-law already has a replacement on deck for you. Like, that was insane to me. So do you think, especially with everything that's going on, do you think Yanky and Esty's marriage would have lasted if they wouldn't had interference from the mom and the rest of the community? Do you think they could have made it work?
I do. I think they would have had a chance because they have a genuine love and connection. And we see that, like, when she finally speaks to him, she's like, there's so much I don't even know about me. And he's like, well, we can discover together. The truth is the same for the both of them. They're both super young. Everything that they're following is based on religious beliefs. So neither one of them have a sense of self, nor did they even have a chance to explore each other and build their relationship because they had all these pressures. Literally, it was like, get married, have a baby, and this is the way it's done. And every day somebody is calling to say, is she pregnant yet? Did it happen last night? Oh my God, it's 3 weeks, it's 3 months, it's 6 months. Like, how is that gonna work for anybody?
How? So so the episode opens with her being they're at Passover. Everything is covered in aluminum foil, which I had to look that up because I was like, why is everything covered? Apparently that's a rite of Passover. You have to get everything super clean, and they cover all the existing stuff, especially in the kitchen, because that's where you do a lot of preparation for food. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. But so you see them preparing for Passover, and then him basically come to her and ask for a divorce. At the same moment, she's so excited and about to tell him that she's pregnant. So when he tells her that he's going to divorce her because she hasn't had a baby, she's done with him after that, which I was like, why was she so upset? Like, why didn't she just tell him like, no, I'm going to have a baby, you know? I think because it really showed to her how disposable she was to him. Like, I thought we were in this together. I'm working at this marriage, but you're willing to toss me aside because you're listening to your crazy mama, and you've decided that if I can't give you a baby after a year, then that's it for me. So I kind of understand why she left, even though she knew she was pregnant, because later on she says, I didn't want it to happen like this, which is totally true. Because you realize that your husband basically values you for one thing and you can't offer that, so he's out. So that was really disappointing on my part for Yanky. Did you feel like if she had run away and it was not pregnant, would Yanky have still chased after her?
That's a good question. I think, I think they would. I think he would have. And I say that because, when they had the initial meeting, I believe in episode 2, it's the rabbi that says it's about bringing our people back so they're not losing the way. Mm-hmm. So, it wasn't just about her being the wife or her having a baby. Like, that was the social pressures put on by the mom and the community and probably the other women. But from the rabbi's standpoint was like, bring them back because they're losing their way. So I think they would have sent Yanky and Moshi still on an expedition to go find her, because it was a religious factor that was very, very prominent from the rabbi's point of view.
Mm-hmm. So we see a lot more of Moshi in this episode. I thought it was far away. Like, I knew he was naked, but I didn't see details. I'm glad for that. Maybe because I have a small TV. I don't know. I didn't need to see all of that from him, so I was glad. But we see, oh my goodness. Okay, he's up to, his goon ways. He's basically one of the rabbi's goons, right? Like, he's the strong arm. So he finds Esty. Because he knows where she practices in the audition space and all of that, snatches her in the street. I was just like, run into a coffee shop. Like, what is happening? So he doesn't take her somewhere to like beat her up, but he does kind of intimidate her out in public. I was surprised that he appealed to her kind of in a religious aspect. He was like, you're here in Germany, like 1 million dead souls, like not dead, you're dead if it's just your soul, but 1 million souls of our people are here. Why would you want to raise a child here? Like, he tried to appeal to her from a religious standpoint, which I thought was really interesting. And then when she came back with those souls are everywhere, my mom eats with those souls in Brooklyn, which was a really good point, because you could see, remember the grandma was crying, listening to music still, so it was still very present for her. But then I thought, oh yeah, here's the Moshi I thought, when he pulled out the gun and was like, you're not going to have any money, you don't have any skills, you're not going to be able to have food, take this gun and basically kill yourself or come back. I was like, okay, that's what I would expect from him. I thought he was going to threaten her, but I thought it was more interesting that he handed her the gun and told her to end her own life. In that moment, were you worried that maybe she would, or what was your response to that whole setup with Moses/Moishe?
I thought he was going to be more intimidating to her because he did have that gun. So I thought it was going to be like full throttle threat. Like, the shame you brought to the community, and I got this gun ready for you, and you're not going to do this to my cousin. Like, I thought she was just going to go full on, like, either you can walk with me or I can drag you, because he was so aggressive with her. I mean, he threw her in an unknown van. Like, how scary. He pretty much snuck up on her, chased her down the street, snatched her, and threw her in an unknown van. So naturally, you're going to expect that, okay, this guy's going to either take you one way or another. He already has the car set up. Like, he just kidnapped you from the street.
Right.
But I thought it was really interesting when there was so much guilt around, the guilt he was throwing on her. It was the religious guilt. And they kind of did it to each other in a weird way. Like when he put her in the car, he's like, God is watching you. And she's like, God is watching you. And they were both going back and forth, like, you're breaking this commandment. Well, you've already broke this commandment. And, it was interesting to see how they were trying to kind of get into each other's subconscious to be like, what's going to tick for you? What's going to click? And then when they go to the park, he kind of tries to have a different type of conversation. Like, listen, everyone always finds their way back to the community. Right now, you're okay. You still have a passage to come back. But, it was all guilt. It was guilt and intimidation. And it was an interesting strategy that Moshi used, but that's our Moshi, right? We just never know what we're gonna get from him.
I feel like a little bit of that too was him trying to tell you his experience.
Yeah.
Listen, you have money now, but you're gonna be broke, you're gonna be hungry, you're gonna be cold at the end of your rope, and you're gonna miss and want and need the only people who love you. When he said that, I was like, are you getting a real one? Like, I felt like he was speaking from experience. Like, listen, I know, like, I've been apart from the only people who loved me, because when he's in the situation and he's gambling, a whole different, just aura is about him. Like, he knows those people don't love him, so it was just like, oh, he's speaking from a little bit of experience, but still, he ain't completely learned his lesson, but he's trying to tell you, because for whatever reason, he gets to kind of operate with 1 foot in, 1 foot out, I feel like, which is special dispensation. So what did I want to talk about? Oh, okay. Yeah, that was interesting. The scene in the van where they're both going back and forth, calling each other deviants. Yeah. That's really interesting. So we flash back to grandma's house. She's basically having a heart attack, which is heartbreaking because you know how close Esty is to her grandmother. So when the mother-in-law comes over, the grandmother is basically like, we're not going to tell her what happened. Were you surprised with that?
I was surprised with that, but I actually loved that the great aunt actually stood up for her niece. She finally stood up to the mother-in-law for her niece, because I think she really saw how shady the mother-in-law was. That because part. The whole time she's showing up like, if you guys need any support, like, we're the community, we're behind you. And then at the same time, she's like, well, by the way, my son found your crazy daughter or your crazy niece. And, just to let you know, we're still like doing our thing, like still trying to up her son in this. And then obviously the other family, they're losing, she's losing her mom, like Esty's grandmother. And she's like, oh, did you tell her about this? And she made it like it was no priority at all. She's like, my son has enough to worry about. So the great aunt flashed back. She's like, hey, lady, just to let you know, a marriage takes 2 people to work out. And before, she would have never said that, because all 3 episodes, it's about Miss Shapiro can't know this. You can't be defective to her, like all those things. So I'm glad that, she spoke on some truth rather than hiding under the shame or what she's gonna look like, so that was nice.
I agree with you there. I was like, yes, girl, get her, like, finally, because she knows how much Esty adores her grandmother, and her as an aunt, she probably needs someone to lean on too, to grieve with. And you've just taken that from her. Like, my son has too much to worry about. Like, are you serious right now, lady? Are you insane? Yeah, I thought that was really sad. I thought at some point, I was thinking maybe the aunt will call Yanky or somebody, or the aunt would call her sister, because they've been in loose contact with the sister. So I thought, oh man, at least she's gonna call her sister, tell her mom died, but nobody reached out. And I was just like, wow. So she's just not going to know that her grandmother passed away? Like, that was insane to me and really, really sad. So finally, Esty meets up with her mom, which we've been waiting and waiting for. and kind of learns the truth. I want to pat us both on the back because we we kind of predicted this a couple of episodes ago. We were saying, how much did the mom quote unquote abandon her, and then how much did the community drive a wedge between them and tell the mom, like, you have to be out of her life? And absolutely, we were right.
100%. I mean, the baby was taken from her. She lost the baby in the court, which actually is a part of our trivia today. So that's going to tie in really nice. But yeah, like she never left her child behind. She was taken from her. And then when Esty was 3, she was told her whole life that she was abandoned, which was absolutely not the truth. Yeah, and we were onto that. I mean, the mom experienced it, and I think you and I tracked that really, really well.
Yeah, that poor mom has been through so much trauma. So there's a part where she says Williamsburg is not America when she's talking to her piano teacher and trying to get free, and her piano teacher is like, just leave, like, just leave him and get a divorce, and this is America, you could do it. And she was like, Williamsburg is not America, which is a really good point. It really isn't. Like, they operate by their own rules, they have their own code, their own standards. And we really see that when we hear the mom's story. Like, when the mom recounts her story, it's like, wow, she really had no choice and kind of no leg to stand on when it came to that. So when Moshi is kind of going off on her and, reading her rights or whatever, he says, you're surviving off of Yanky's food, off of his money for food and shelter or whatever. And I was like, oh, that was a low blow, but true. But then we find out that actually it was her own money, because she went and pawned her jewelry, the earrings that her mother-in-law picked out for her, pearl necklaces. She pawned her jewelry and got $1,500, and that is what she escaped with and is living on. So I felt like, I liked to have that little bit of tidbit in the story, because it felt more like she was heroic and she was brave and she was taking matters into her own hands and also being self-sufficient to a degree.
Yeah, and I mean, connecting to that also, it's like the mom said it. She's like, there's always a Moshi around. There's always one of those. Because even when she asked her mom, she's like, wait a minute, you know him? She's like, honey, there's always one of those around. Like, how many of those do you think that I've dealt with? There's always somebody that's going to come banging at your door, threatening you, communities coming after you, taking your baby. So yeah, I'm not surprised that he gave a low blow. Like they said, there's always somebody in stuff, and not even just that community, everywhere, right? Like, you don't know who's gonna pop up on you trying to guilt you into something or try to pull the rug under you. Like, you just don't know. But I'm sure, speaking specifically in that situation, the mom's seen it all.
She definitely has. So that's why I was so glad when they met up and she was able to tell Esty the truth. I was like, yes, finally. And I immediately trusted her and believed, everything she was saying. It made complete and total sense. All the pieces I felt like were coming together in that moment. I thought it was funny just to reflect on something that you pointed out last episode, and that came back up again a couple of times this episode. There's a different Torah on the road.
I told you. I was
like, what?
Yes.
It was so funny when Yanky says that to S. She's like, what? Yeah.
Well, because, right, like he kind of seen it firsthand in his cousin, and his cousin is the one that said it. And I kind of like that part about Yanky, because when he sees her hair and he's like, everybody can see your hair, and she's like, believe it or not, it's fashionable here. And he's like, I get it. Like, there's a different Torah on the road. And that was just so cute of him to say, like, yeah, like, I'm not completely oblivious. I do get it that things change when we get outside of our community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was really interesting. So she goes in, she has her audition. It's not great. I think we can like the first time she sings, you know, she says, I'm not gonna do piano. The first time she sings, it's okay. It isn't anything great or moving. And then she does the second iteration of the song. The lady says, oh, you're more of a mezzo soprano. So can you sing something more in that vein? And so she does. And then it's really powerful. And I think an interesting illustration of her finding her voice, right? So she's singing in a soprano, which isn't really her voice. And then she gets some other direction to sing in her voice. And then that's when she really comes alive. That's when the lady who told her we only accept 80% is in the audience with tears in her eyes. You can see, you know, that's when it's really moving. So I thought that was a really cool just metaphor for her finding her way and finding her voice is when she sung, and that mezzo soprano is when she did the best. What did you think about the change when she was like,
and then adding to that, well, you know, I thought it was so interesting because it's like our girl's not a pianist, she's a singer, right? So this whole time when she was building up the courage to do piano, like I think it was great now that the other girl pointed that out to Esty. She was like, this is not your strong suit. Like find something that is if you really want to survive. And you know, sometimes feedback like that, it does make us question ourselves, but kind of it's like one of those things, what doesn't weaken you strengthens you, right? So it's like she went to the next thing. And what I found that was so symbolically beautiful about that was she sang the song that her grandmother and her used to sing together. So although she didn't know that her grandmother passed away at home, you know, spiritually, it spoke to her, and it's almost like she spoke that out of her soul. So simultaneously, and I'm just such a fan of that type of like synergy, right? It's like you don't know what's happening, but it's still aligned. And I just thought that movement, that part was so powerful. And then Yanky, he gets to hear her sing. I mean, imagine how mind-blowing that is for a culture that does not allow women's voices to be heard in that type of way. And he hears what a beautiful voice she has. He's like, oh my God, that's my wife.
Yeah, and you can see how proud he was of her in that moment. It was beautiful. And then juxtapose that with your girl Leah getting gangster on Moshi. I was like, yes, girl. He came in, I was like, oh no, they're about to fight. He's gonna be like, he left the gun, so he's not gonna shoot her, but I could easily see him trying to beat Leah up, like easily. So I was like, oh no, or he's gonna try and bust in this thing while she's singing. But Leah just had the gun in her purse and pulled it out. Like, what do you want to do? I was like, what? My mind was blown.
I love that part, right? Like she went gangster on him. She's like, listen, you left your gun here. I'm not going to underestimate you. And she put it in her purse, and she was waiting by the door. And when he showed up, she did not hesitate to pull it out. And how hilarious was it when those other people walked in the building? She's like, good morning, with the gun in her hand. And she looked at him like, you're not going to ruin this for her. And I was surprised, like when he turned around, I thought he might like kick her in the back or like, you know, throw like a back kick or something. But he left. Mm-hmm. And I mean, he must have seen it in her eyes, like she's not playing and she might just blast me. So he kept moving.
They recognized that. He was like, I'm crazy. I can see the crazy. Takes one to know one. Let me keep it moving.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was like, this is her highlight of like, she's always wanted to prove, you know, that her love for Esty and that she's a great mother, and gun toting and pulling it out and being ready to blast was the perfect example of what a great mother she was.
And Kay, that must be so freeing for her also, right? Like finally being able to tell Esty the truth, being able to now have her daughters back in her baby. Like she gets a chance to do it right. I mean, I personally believe because the whole time she wasn't in her wrong, right? Like she just unfortunately went through that grief. but like she gets to have another chance at this. And I'm sure she's wanted to pull out a gun on other people from that community that pulled up on her.
That's right.
So she's, you know,
house in the middle of the night.
yeah.
There's moishas everywhere. So there was her one opportunity to stand up to the moisture. I was like, yes.
She had a triple moment.
Yeah, so many great parts in that scene. Just loved it. So she does her mezzo soprano. We don't know if she gets a scholarship or not, but it seems like everything went well. She did her best. She put her best foot forward. So she comes out. She sees Yanky. They go on a walk. I was on a roller coaster of emotions, Ashmin, for this part. What were your thoughts?
I was in tears. I cannot lie. I was like, okay, one, I can't blink right now. Like that was the perfect word, emotional roller coaster. It's like, you know, I agree with you. When he saw her sing, he's so proud that that's his wife. And then they go on the walk and they just, you know, like they actually have a moment with the people breathing down their neck, right? Like they actually have probably the first time in their marriage they get to see each other. The whole time, I mean, you know, she's kind of, you know, she has a wig, like it's a whole nother her. It's the persona her. And they see each other and they're talking, and you know, it leads up to the hotel room scene. And I mean, that part was just so emotional because you see how much Yanky really does love her and care for her. And he says it. He's like, you were always unhappy. I thought something was wrong with you, and now I know nothing was wrong with you. So I think even that type of confession to one another, you know, is so important because, you know, we respond to body language and energy. So, you know, he's getting his information from his source, but all along, like it wasn't that. So it was deep, without a doubt. It was deep, very, very powerful.
I love that he brought her a music note necklace before he even saw her sing. Like, right? I know you. Like, I realized that, you know, there's something about you that's different, and I want to show you that I know you and I support you. So he bought her the music note necklace, which is really sweet. But then after that, when he says, there's nothing wrong with you, you're just different, I thought he was going to say, there's nothing wrong with you, it was me, I should have understood you more. So when he was like, there's nothing wrong with you, you're just different, I was like, you still on her. You know, he can be perfect. He can be perfect. But he tried to kiss her. We have never seen them kiss. We've seen them try and make a baby. Well, we've seen them make a baby, but we've never seen them kiss. So that was really an intimate moment. Well, him try and kiss her. I feel like she wasn't kissing him back. We only could see it from his vantage point. So that was really.
Yeah, and for the fact though, he did take on that emotion, because like that one episode when we see him sitting with that, you know, I don't know if she was a stripper or what she was, but he took notes. He's like, okay, how do I make a woman feel good? And when he had the chance with Esty, he did. I agree. We've never seen him gently hold her hair, neck, come towards her face, and he totally did. Like he tried to bring a passionate kiss to her. And the part that just was so emotional was when he's like, I can change. When he's like, please come back. Like, we can do this. We can be a family. And girl, he went for the scissors to his own hair. I was like, done.
That made me tear up. I was like, oh, he's cutting his earlocks. Like, yo, that is big.
Huge.
He's been growing those his entire life. Like, I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
And how she was just like, no. And he just kept cutting it. And the sound of them through the hair. And then the other one. Oh.
And tears just running down both of their faces, because they both know what that means and that symbolizes, but that moment of like love and passion for one another, because he really did want to make it work. But I feel like she knew, she's like, yeah, you might want to make it work here, but going back, it's not going to be like this. Like, even if you and I try in our home, mother-in-laws barge in, people just barge in, like it's never just going to be us. And she's like, I can't, she's not willing to go back to it. The
Yeah.
talk of the community, the old conformed ways, it's not
But
happening.
But when he cut his earlocks off, Ashmin, I got the idea that he was saying like, what? Okay, tell me this. Was he saying by cutting off his earlocks, I'm going to return in shame like you? Or was he saying, I can leave the community and be with you?
I took it as like, I can change too, in the sense of like, let's go back to our community and, you know, it'll be more you and I. Like, I see you more, you see me more. Let's build a relationship. Let's discover each other. But unfortunately, no, I don't think there was a reference of, you know, I'll leave this community and we can start over or begin here, because I think he's too attached. He's too
like,
deep in.
Shedding? I was like, is he shedding the religion? I mean, that like, this is huge. But here's what we don't know. I was like, she doesn't know Moshi took that picture of her. But when she said it's too late, I was thinking she's gotta know that it's too late because she's cheated on him. Like, you can't go back and go through with a marriage with a baby when you've cheated on him and he doesn't know. And if you did tell him, he probably will want to leave you by then. Like, that's what I mean.
I kind of thought that too, but Kay, I'm still a little fuzzy on that, because did she have sex with Robert? Because when she got out of his bed, she still had her skirt on, she still had her bra on. So I don't know. I still don't feel like it was confirmed if they slept together or not. Like, we know that they made out, but it is kind of fuzzy. What do you think?
I mean, there's a lot of like awkwardness between them. It was like they made it seem like that. Like, the guys at breakfast were like, "Oh, we're cool, everything is cool," you know. And she was like, kind of like being ashamed, and then, you know, her and Robert like glancing at each other and then looking away. Everything was like kind of awkward. I mean, but there is a chance. There is a chance that maybe nothing did happen. That's true. And maybe she's just saying we can't go back, you know, but just because she knows like it's never going to be the same after she run away and all of that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, I think you're right also. Like, even if, like, because we do know that they made out, right? We see them kiss and all that. So maybe they did make out, but maybe that's enough, like, in her mind, to be like, we can't go back, because that's plenty right there. You're not even supposed to touch anyone, let alone, you know, like, kiss up on somebody. So yeah, I agree with you. Like, in every way, I think she's just like, I can't go back. Like, I've already broken these commandments. I don't want to go back to the community. Like, I don't want to feel shame on any of this.
Yeah, and that's exactly what that community is going to make her think. I don't see. Yeah, I can't imagine coming back. You were miserable. Just the amount of gossip they talked about you before is nothing compared with what they have now. So anyway, I just wanted to, before we get to news, say thank you to our super fans for tuning in. We're now on episode 4, which is our final episode. We've had such an awesome time talking about this great show. We want to encourage you that if you're listening to us via podcast, to give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. And then if you're watching us on YouTube, we love comments. You can give us a thumbs up and then make a comment below. Yeah, so you have the news for us, Ashmin?
I do. So I wanted to check in with Shira Haas, who is obviously the main actress that plays Esty, and just get her feedback on how she feels that this series has wrapped up for her, her thoughts. So she gave a interview on KCTV5, I think it was like yesterday, and her comments on the show Unorthodox say, quote, "It blew her mind. She is so proud of this show." And she's like, "It's just blown my mind. Every part of being able to be a part of this wonderful series and then seeing the outcome. of what the final project is. Some keynotes that she did say was that she connected with Deborah, whose memoir it is, beforehand. And she's like, meeting up with her, there was just like this instant connection between us. So they connected beforehand, during the making of the series, and they're still friends after. So that's really cool that she was able to tell such a personal story, but yet have that close relationship with the person's story who it actually is. And she just wanted to say it felt like a gift to her. She's like, there's different roles we get as an actress, but this was just a role that I just felt so gifted to do. And she was just very grateful she had the opportunity to do it. Lastly, the interviewer asked her, what do you think you have in common with Esty? And she says, I think by nature, we're both very curious people. So she's like, every time Esty was out there in the world being resourceful and looking for things, she's like, that came kind of naturally out of me because that's who I am as a person. So I just thought it was really cool that she was so aligned with the story and the character. And as a result, like, we got this beautiful mini series out of it.
Yeah, it was awesome. I really, really hope that we can move forward with a season 2, because there are a lot of questions that are still lingering. She's still having a baby. What's going to happen with that situation? Did she get into school? And I would love to follow her character. I would even like to see what happens with Moisha.
Right. I mean, and he still has the blackmail evidence on her. Like,
Yeah.
Can we just talk about that part real quick where he's playing poker and he's winning and the rabbi calls and he declines his call?
White. He's like, so white, and gonna hit me again, and then win big, and he's like, yeah. After that. Oh God, this guy. I wonder if he is going to be able to go back and have his sins forgiven, or is it going to be hard for him to leave because now he's got kind of sucked in again, into his whole thing.
I think it's like you said before, he always has one foot out the door. He's kind of addicted to the life. So I think he struggles between both areas.
Yeah, Esty's going to be seeing a lot more of him around town. No, I'm just kidding. He just hang out. So you have a special segment for us?
I do. So we're going to do some trivia to finalize our final episode. And what's interesting about the trivia today is, so we see the kind of conclusion between Yanky and Esty, right? But according to the Jewish laws, it doesn't really just end because one person chooses to end it. So the trivia is around that. And another reason why there should be a season 2, because things are law sensitive. So let me ask you a couple of trivia around that. So this is going to be multiple choice. And here is the first question. What is a ketubah? A contract between families. B, a marriage contract between bride and groom. Or C, a contract to the community. Tell me if you need me to repeat anything.
Contract to the community. Wow. Okay, I'm going to say a contract between the families. Just because in the first episode, they were like, they met for like 10 minutes, but the families were all into each other and talking, and that was a huge deal. So I'm going to say.
Okay, good guess, but it's actually B. It's a marriage contract between bride and groom. Oh. And that is known as a ketubah. Yes. Okay, second question. So according to Jewish law, women are anchored and chained to their religious marriages, but is divorce ever an option? A, yes. B, never. C, uncertain.
Is divorce ever an option? Well, I'm going to say yes, because he was going to divorce her. He was like, my mom said, get a divorce. So yes.
Kay's a smart girl. You're absolutely right. It says yes, but check this out. a divorce is only granted if it's initiated by the husband and finalized in a Jewish court, a Jewish religious court. So now it makes sense when Yanky said, I'm going to divorce you, because she couldn't actually divorce him. It has to be initiated by the husband. And I believe the document is called a get. And through the get is how they're able to formally release their marriage from a religious point of view.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, right, that's another thing. So the episode is ending, but we don't actually see him giving her a get. So does that mean they're still going to be tied? Because even his mother wants to remarry him, but how is he going to remarry if he's still considered married?
That mother. Okay.
Thank you for playing.
Well, thank you for schooling me. I mean, that stuff I would never know, but that is so fascinating. I noticed also after this episode ends, there's another behind the scenes. Did you see that? It's the making.
I did see that.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it. So that looks interesting for people who might still be, you know, interested on some of the background. It tells you some of the background of the actual community there and people that they used kind of as background people and extras, and a guy that's from that community that is an actor, but also like very like grew up in the tradition and was able to give them like a lot of pointers and stuff. Yeah.
We should tune in, Kay.
We should. All right. So how would our super fans find you to keep up with you online, Ashmin?
Absolutely, guys. You could find me on Instagram at Insights by Ish.
All right. Awesome. And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter. I'm at Host K, HOSTKAY. That's it for us at the Unorthodox After Show. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Don't forget to comment down below and keep the conversation going. We'll see you later.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.